All right, hey everyone. Hopefully everyone's having a good night. Just feel like I wanted to jump on here last minute. I know it's a little bit late. It's 9:30 my time, Mountain Time. For those who don't know me or follow me, I am located in the northwest region of New Mexico, around the Farmington area. I'm not shy to let you guys know about that. All right, yeah, I'm going to interact with the chat tonight. Probably for the most part. Hey, Jason, in 201, Sinister. WNBA is going to be starting up on Israel's birthday this coming next month, May 14th. And, a lot of talk about Caitlin Clark going number 1 in the draft. And that's where I want to start. If you don't follow me on Twitter, I do have a Twitter page. My dog here, June. For those who don't know, I have to put out some words about my dog, June, right? Everyone will always say that they have the best dog, but, I'm going to say that too. I have the best dog. Junathan is what we call him. Because not all Junes are females, so we always joke that his name's actually Junathan, born June 1st. But yeah, that's the whole picture with who I have as my emblem on my YouTube channel and everything that I represent. Yeah, great dog. But anyways, if you don't follow me on Twitter, I did put out a tweet on the draft day on Monday stating how, Monday's draft, let me zoom it up here, that for the WNBA, it was the 29th draft in WNBA history. And you just got to realize, too, that, it was exactly 29 days to the start date of the WNBA on May 14th. And then you had Caitlin Clark coming from the 29th state in order of statehood, Iowa. She went number 1. But then even if you went a little bit further with it, you'd realize that the team she's playing for, Fever has the gematria of 29 in the most pure cipher. So perfectly aligned with Caitlin Clark to go number 1 in the 29th draft, going to the Fever. So Paige Beckers, she's not drafted this year. She opted to go another year at UConn. So got another year to see her in the draft. Just to answer that question in the chat. But yeah, okay, so let me just run it down. Some things that stuck out to me in the WNBA draft. You obviously had Caitlin Clark going to the Fever in the 29th draft. Fever equals 29. But I pointed out a minute ago how I was already expecting Tamika Catchings to be a big part of this year's, overall, I guess you could say, season, because here we are in 2024 and Tamika Catchings, the big great of the WNBA, wearing number 24. And, recognizing that her and Kobe went into the same, I feel like they both got drafted. Let me just put it out here. Kobe and Tamika Catchings. Sorry, I can't spell right now. I'm pretty sure they went into the Basketball Hall of Fame. I can't even Catchings. Basketball Hall of Fame at the same day, same time. Yeah, right here. And then also knowing that they played with each other in Rome growing up as kids, because both their dads played in the league together overseas. I mean, that's also something that stands out, because, you know, Rome has like a mantra of 24, like how Kobe and Tamika both wear number 24, or they both wore number 24, and here we are in 2024. But yeah, right here, the special bond between Hall of Fame inductees Kobe Bryant and Tamika Catchings. I know there's something more here, because they got inducted on the same day. It had to be 4/4/2020, right? Yeah, this is like the same picture I saw of them talking about, like, this is, I'm not going to play it because I don't know what it's going to show, but check out here under the captions, it says, check out Kobe Bryant and Tamika Catchings talk about growing up in Italy together and how it prepared them for their amazing careers in Italian imports. So back in the mid-1980s, the Bryant and Catching families would meet up, hang out, and take trips together in Italy, where respective patriarchs, Job Jellybean Bryant and Harvey Catchings, both played professionally after the end of their NBA careers. So, I mean, both their dads were well off and they knew each other playing together. So again, just interesting. I already had called out that I expected Tamika Catchings to be a big part of the 2024 season, and, you know, obviously in correlation with Kobe, but I mean, with her also wearing the number 24 for Indiana. And, you know, just interesting that, you know, right now they're ramping up with the Indiana Fever, obviously with Aaliyah Boston being the number 1 draft pick last year, and then this year being with Caitlin Clark. Because if you don't recognize Fever equates to 25, and, you know, they're in their 24th season going into their 25th season. But I mean, what a great time for them to be ramping up, right? Like, with Caitlin Clark going number 1. Let's see. Other than that, I mean, we had Cameron Brink going number 2 in the WNBA Draft, going to the LA Sparks. And then other than that, like, I got to jump down to Angel Reese, because Angel Reese was somebody I had no surprise going to the Chicago Sky. And even if you want to, like, check out my page, I guess, if you want to say, on Twitter. Let's see here. I think it's under this tweet about, of course, Caitlin Clark will be the last to wear number 22 for Iowa. The 22-year-old girl who was born on the 22nd day of the year in the year 2002, whenever you have basketball equating to 22. And mind you, she's been setting all these records after she turned 22. I just want to point out that, oh, maybe I just let's see what happened. I thought it was under that one. Let me see. Oh, right here. Shout out to JC, good subscriber and Patreon of mine. But he was asking, what pick do you see Angel Reese going? And I just said maybe number 3 or 7, because I find her fitting with Chicago. Talking about Angel Reese. And I just want to show you the reasons why I felt like she was going to go to Chicago for sure. And that's just basically here in the most pure cipher. Angel Reese equates to 46, like how, you had that revolutionary 4-6 defense for the Chicago Bears back in the day. Just like how Chicago equates to 46 in the most, simple cipher, A equaling 1, Z to 26. And isn't it funny too when you realize that Chicago had pick number 3 and number 7, right? In the WNBA draft, they had pick number 3, who they picked up Camila Cardoso, and then they picked up number 7, Angel Reese. Just like how Chicago in the most pure cipher equates to 37, right? So perfect alignment there. And then again, how Chicago equals 46, and how you have Angel Reese equating to 46. And, a lot more reasons for that I had felt like that would have been a nice match is just because realizing that Angel Reese's birthday is May 6th, like 5-6. And this reminds of like how Black Lives Matter, the movement that they have. Black Lives Matter equates to 56. And, there for a moment, I was like, is she going to go to Chicago, or would it make sense for her to go to Minnesota? Because, it makes me think about George Floyd and how he was killed on the corner of 38th and Chicago. But Chicago just seems fitting with the whole, that's where Obama kind of grew up too at the same time. Our first Black president. But yeah, a lot of things kind of worked out there. Who else did I want to point out? So Caitlin Clark just seemed too obvious. Camila Cardoso, Camila and Angel being the 3 and 7 match in Chicago. Let's see. Yeah, but other than that, I'll definitely interact with the chat if you guys have any questions and such. But those were like, the 2 hottest names going into the draft. I mean, obviously, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, the rival teams of last season. Let's see. I feel like myself, I'm already forgetting what I wanted to talk about. But I mean, we can review it to ourselves here. And I still find it interesting that the WNBA draft happened. Oh, okay. So I got to get this out here. Okay. So not only was April, 15th, the WNBA draft day, Jackie Robinson Day, but it was also the date of the Boston Marathon. It just has me thinking about Aaliyah Boston, right? Aaliyah Boston, who went number 1 last year in 2023. And then hear how she was like a big thing about her in the NCAA, and how her former team, who she played with at South Carolina, losing in the Final Four to Caitlin Clark, last season before she went into the WNBA. That I find that interesting because how am I going to say it? So she loses this Final Four game. She's a big topic this year, and she's commentating the game, right? Like, she's still a big part of the NCAA tournament, commentating the game. But then this year, she gets revenge going against Iowa in the championship, in a sense, even though she didn't even play, but she's commentating the game, right? I'm like thinking like all these things about Aaliyah Boston and just how relevant I guess she is to the whole thing about seeing, like she was the number 1 draft pick last year for Indiana, and we already recognize that she was born on Indiana's 185th birthday, the statehood of Indiana. And we know that basketball equates to 185. Basketball equates to 185. And no, I just find it interesting. I haven't really been following the NBA too much. I don't, the narratives and all the storylines and stuff. But to me, it does stand out that Boston Celtics, if they go all the way again this year and win the finals, they could be, they could become 18-5 in the finals all the time. And, the day that the WNBA Draft, this previous Monday on April 15th, that was also the same day as the Boston Marathon, which has me wondering, like, what funny wordplay if that were for Aaliyah Boston to get the number 1 draft pick again for Indiana, and for Indiana drafted number 1 Caitlin Clark to Aaliyah Boston's team. It's like, all right, like thinking about that in wordplay, like, all right, Boston Marathon, like this is another marathon for Aaliyah Boston. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just think that's something to be on the lookout. I know Boston Celtics are pretty much the top dogs, like, going into the NBA playoffs and all that. They're number 1 and all that. But like, if they ended up going 18-5, I feel like there's some significance there with Aaliyah Boston, which is just how big of a name she's been in the league, going number 1 last year to Indiana Fever, and then this year she's getting her teammate also going number 1 because they got back-to-back number 1 draft picks. Indiana Fever did. Not saying I know who's going to win the NBA championship. Just those clear little riddles with the word Boston, it stands out to me. But let's see. And again, like basketball equating to 22, and Aaliyah Boston's 22 years old right now, just like Caitlin Clark is 22. And we know, again, all the 22s with Caitlin Clark being born on the 22nd day of the year, January 22nd in the year 2002, and she wears the number 22, and she's setting all these records after she just turned 22. Definitely recognizable whenever you're following the numbers. And also, let it be known that the day that, let me just show you right here, from Caitlin Clark's previous birthday, 2024, to the day that she got drafted number 1 on Jackie Robinson Day. Put a span on it. You can see that it was her 85th day of her age. Again, just like how basketball equates to 85. And, even last year, what was it, the 85th day of the year, which would have been in 2023. Let's see. Okay, so last year would have been March 26th was the 85th day of the year, and it was also 68. Let me just prove it right here. So if you took her birthday last year, it was during the NCAA tournament, but she had a hot game of 41 points. 85th day of the year, right? Maybe I'm messing up on that. Okay, now I'm confusing myself. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Hold on. Let me double check something. I don't remember what day it was last year, but I could have sworn it was the 85th day of the year, unless I'm messing up on that. Because I thought it was like a span of 68 days after her birthday. So, okay, last year, March 26th was the 85th day of the year. Unless I'm forgetting what date I was measuring from. All right, maybe I have to correct myself on that, because I could have sworn there was some 85-68 comparison last year in the March Madness tournament. All right, I'll just have to go look at my Patreon notes and double check on that. Because I know I'm not missing something on that. I know I'm not bullshitting on what I'm trying to talk about. So I'll have to correct myself in a minute. Other than that, let's see, who else did I want to talk about? I mean, we had Angel Reese. I mean, there's a lot to say without saying a lot. Just talking about the teams that these players went to. But I mean, one thing I have to put out there, even just for the public, just because we talk so much about, Brittney Griner and 42. Let me just go to my WNBA cheat sheet here for the year. I just want you guys to realize, I'm not saying it has to happen this year, but I mean, as long as Brittney Griner is a part of the bunch, I feel like it makes the most sense. Even with Diana Taurasi, with people calling her the GOAT. I just want to point out that Phoenix Mercury right now in championships, they are 3-2. The only reason I would ever even, I mean, obviously there's teams that equate to 33, but we know with like how significant the number 42 has been with Brittney Griner and just her whole history. I cannot understand right now Phoenix Mercury going 3-3 in championships. I have to imagine it going 4-2 in championships for Phoenix Mercury. And I hate that I'm so repetitive, but it has to be known that, Brittney Griner, number 42, who was detained in Russia supposedly for 42 weeks from February 17, 2022 to December 8th, 2022. That's exactly 42 weeks for number 42. And, we all know she was drafted number 1 on Jackie Robinson Day back in 2013. And exactly 42 days later, on May 27th, 2013, she gets her WNBA debut against the Chicago Sky, which kind of stands out with how Chicago Sky has been relevant in Brittney Griner's career. Just 42 overall with Brittney Griner. I mean, it's definitely a big riddle. So it definitely stands out to me, that we've been riding with Phoenix Mercury being at 3-2 for a while now, since, they last lost in the tournament or in the championship in 2021. So 3 years ago. Yeah. So one thing I definitely wanted to point out, and think about just throwing it out there for the public right now. It is interesting. Recognize that this year is the 28th season of the WNBA, and we know that aces equates to 28 because in the alphabetical order right here, it's that simple. Let's see. A equals 1, C equals 3, E is 15, or E is 5, sorry, S is 19. You add it all up, it equates to 28, right? And recall, let me see, I don't think I even blogged about it, but I definitely, people who follow my Patreon remember this game. Shoot, what year would it have been? Aces, Chicago. Okay, let me type this out. Yeah, it has to be right. Looks like it was June 22nd, 2022. What was so big about this game? Well, it's funny because I already had aces. Or no. I had Chicago Sky to win this game versus the aces on my Patreon. And it was pretty wild because, I wasn't thinking anything about it. I thought it read clear by the numbers. And let me see if I can pull out the box score. But what made so much sense, and I'm going to talk about how this correlates with the 28th season this year. Put ESPN scores. Yeah, it had to be this game. All right, so for everyone who missed this game, it was a good one, right? So obviously this is June 22nd, 2022, and this game was at Las Vegas. But the thing about this game, okay, right here in the description, right here, let me blow it up so you see it. Highlight of the game: Courtney Vandersloot scored 25 points, and the Chicago Sky completed the biggest comeback in WNBA history, rallying from 28 down to beat the Las Vegas Aces 104-95 on Tuesday night. So, okay, so this game actually happened on June 21st, 2022. But before the game, I mean, I could look this up on my Patreon, but for sure we had Chicago Sky winning. And I remember I had people commenting after halftime throughout the fourth quarter, like, holy shit, we're going to get this game right. Because again, like how they described it here in the description, Chicago Sky, they were down 28 points. So Las Vegas had the big lead. And I just want to point out, like, how, again, they're talking about being down 28 points, all right? And here we are going into the 28th season. And you have aces equating to 28 in the alphabetical order. But one thing I want to point out that I realized right away about Courtney Vandersloot being the hot shot for the Chicago Sky at the time, even though she plays for New York right now, New York Liberty. But I had to point out that Courtney Vandersloot brought back Chicago Sky, after this 28-point deficit. Courtney Vandersloot has the 2/8 birthday. Her birthday is February 8th, 1989. So, I mean, like, how perfect for her, the 2/8 birthday girl, to make this awesome 28-point comeback for her team at the time, Chicago Sky, to defeat the Aces. And the biggest comeback in WNBA history, being down 28 points. So, I mean, that was something we recognized right away when it was happening. But I mean, definitely, I didn't expect that to happen before I called the game. It was just funny, like, how that played out. So, talking about the 28th season for the WNBA right now, that does stand out to me because, again, Courtney Vandersloot does play for the New York Liberty. And, it can be a total rematch of last year's season, the Aces versus the Liberty this year, connecting with Courtney Vandersloot. But I'd probably have to do a little bit more digging on her just to see how much I do ride with that. Because it can't just always be about one player, but it can be about one player. But I mean, that storyline stands out to me a lot about it being the 28th season. And, other than that, going back to the WNBA draft, there's one more thing I do want to point out before I hang this up, and that's about Angel Reese, right? And with Angel Reese, I've talked about this numerous times now, but let me just pull up Simone Augustus, even though I'm not spelling it right. You know how we had not this year, but last year in 2023, how we had LSU Tigers and the women's to take it all for the NCAA tournament. So we're 2-0 right now since I've been following the women's NCAA tournament. Using gematria and just using my own thoughts. But I do want to point out again how we saw that Simone Delicia Augustus equates to 342, right? And then we also saw how the day that Brittney Griner came home in 2022 on December 8th, how that was the 342nd day of the year. For Kim Mulkey, her former coach, to end up going 34-2 for the season, that they ended up winning the whole NCAA tournament in 2023 for the LSU Tigers, the LSU Lady Tigers. How perfect, for Kim Mulkey to be that former coach of Brittney Griner, and then also she had a big involvement with getting a statue put in place at LSU for Simone Augustus. A lot of stuff going into that, but just noticing the 342. Yeah, I mean, this is another reason why I liked Angel Reese to go to Chicago. is because of Reese Witherspoon. Not Reese Witherspoon. I totally just said that. Reese Witherspoon. Teresa Witherspoon. Teresa, it sounds so similar to the actress, right? Reese Witherspoon. But anyways, Teresa Witherspoon, recognize her birthday, December 8th, right? December 8th. Again, the exact day that Brittney Griner came home, December 8th, 2022. December 8th being the 342nd day of the year. December 8th being a lot like 34-2, like how LSU Tigers went 34-2 to win the championship, And Kim Mulkey having history with Teresa Witherspoon because Teresa Witherspoon was coached by Kim Mulkey at Louisiana Tech. And so that was a whole nother reason why I liked that connection there between Angel Reese and Teresa Witherspoon to unite together. You know what I mean? I don't know how else perfect that could have been. But shoot, there was one other reason I wanted to point that out. But yeah, let me just show you here. So Teresa, she went to, hold up. Right here, her college year, she went to Louisiana Tech from 84 to 88. And then Kim Mulkey, you can see she was a coach at Louisiana Tech from 85 to 2000, if you want to include her being an assistant and also, associate head coach. She might even just barely miss playing with her because it says her playing career ended in 1984. So, I mean, obvious strong connections with Teresa Witherspoon between her and Kim Mulkey. And then here, her player, Angel Reese, goes to Witherspoon in Chicago. And Teresa Witherspoon again. Let me show you this real quick. I have a picture of this on my Patreon, I remember, but I got to show you this. Should be under images. Maybe it's not going to pop up as a number one picture. Funny. Yeah, it's not popping up right away. It used to. It used to pop up with a picture with Brittney Griner and Teresa Witherspoon basically hugging each other. Which I felt like was a slap in the face because, again, Brittney Griner came home to the U.S. supposedly from her detainment on December 8th, 2022. And December 8th is Teresa Witherspoon's birthday. Yeah, I don't see it popping up right away. But, I mean, I have it documented on one of my posts. But anyways, just the mockery of how people don't pay attention to the numbers, how people don't care about what day it is of the year when it's obviously important, knowing who controls everything, our language, our calendar, what calendar we're running off of. Yeah, I don't even see it popping up no more. All right, I'm gonna have to. All right, shoot, hold on. Well, I don't even think I have my email open. Otherwise, I would show it. But I do have it documented. Anyways, I'm gonna interact with the chat just probably for like another 5-10 minutes, and then I'll probably have to sign off and go to bed. Let's see. Who was my favorite team or player in the WNBA? Okay, I can definitely remind you who my favorite player was. Because I don't know if I ever had a favorite team, to be honest, but my favorite player, I'm just gonna pull it on board right now. And it's just interesting. Elena Beard, all right. Elena Beard was always my favorite. Like, I always felt like she could do it all with her height being under 6 foot, like 5'10", 5'11". She was a lefty, which I'm a righty, but just her quickness. I mean, she was always recognized for the defensive player of the year. I don't know how many times she even got that award, and seeing how many steals she can make, just like no matter who was going up on her one-on-one. I like that about her. Like, she was quick with her hands, just like stealing that ball out of your hands. Yeah, but she could play guard or forward. That was another thing that I really admire about her, because I feel like I was in the same boat, in my playing days. And it is interesting that her birthday is May 14th, and how this season's going to be beginning on May 14th. Israel's birthday. But Elena Beard, in my opinion, I've really admired her game. And yeah, I can't see I always say, I feel like she had like the perfect body build, for a female athlete. Like, she was slim, but she was muscular at the same time. I liked her height. Like, yeah, oh, right here. Yeah, they said she was 5'11", so just right under 6 foot. That was my player. I've always, honestly, I feel like I had been like 8th grade when I started following her. Whenever she was a Duke player. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to go with as a favorite player growing up. And if you want to put her in a perspective, she was in the same draft as Diana Taurasi in 2004, right? Diana Taurasi ended up going number 1, and Elena Beard went number 2. But I always felt like Elena Beard one-on-one could always take Diana. That was always my fighting words, and I would stick with that. I still feel like she would probably take her, because Elena Beard, even though she's retired and Diana's still in the league, she's still in the league, but I still feel like Beard just has the smarts. And that's what I have a hard time with. Like, I admire her so much, but then again, like, how I view these players today and how they're being pushed in the media. Yeah, maybe she was one of those players at the time, but I feel like Elena Beard had the skills, you know. Anyways, I don't want to talk down about it, but I liked her. Hey Chris, how you doing? Good to see you in the chat. I got to meet Chris in the chat. He's talking right now. I got to meet him in Oklahoma City. Really nice guy. So yeah, I'll stick around for a few more minutes if anyone else has any questions or want to throw anything in. But yeah, the WNBA draft, no surprise. Again, if you got here late, it was the 29th WNBA draft, and you got the number one player from the 29th state in order of statehood, Iowa, going number one. And then if you want to include the gematria of the Indiana Fever picking her up, Fever equates to 29, and the day of the draft on April 15th to the start of the WNBA start date, May 14th, was exactly 29 days. So, I mean, that 29 is very, dominant, I guess. And we're going to have to recognize that probably with, with Caitlin Clark being with the Indiana Fever, because, I mean, this is Indiana Fever's 25th season right now, which is also relevant with Fever equating to 25 and how they're in their 25th season this year. But Fever, having that 29, are they going to really ramp up in 4 years with Caitlin Clark? Something to pay attention to. What's my Patreon? My Patreon is the exact name as my YouTube. So if you just look up Patreon / kayladecodetalker, you'll be able to find me. Right? Isn't that like what's the bummer about it? Like, you can't tell if these skills are, I mean, I feel like you can tell who is actually athletic in the league, right? Like, we can tell who has the skills, but then it's hard to, like, I was getting questioned today actually at work. And to be honest, a lot of people at my majority of my work, coworkers, don't even know I do any of this. They don't know I have a Patreon. They don't know I have a YouTube channel. Only like a couple of my close friends that I feel like, I can tell them about it. Like, other than that, nobody knows about like how I follow the stats, follow basketball, especially women's basketball. But I did get asked the question today from somebody who doesn't know any of this, and they're asking me like what I thought about Caitlin Clark and what I thought about, like, what is the hype around her? Is she as legit as, what they're hearing about her and such, how she went number one in the league? And, I was like, all right, I'll tell you about my opinions. And a lot of it was, exactly what I talk on here and stuff, like how it's all in the media. Like, I feel like a lot of it's the media and how they only recognize, like, why she stole the crowd, why she stole the media's attention. And even she said it in her own words one time in an interview, is like how her range and why she, like, how she's shooting far distance, like that's what captured the media's attention. Like, that's what kind of wowed the crowd, right? And she kind of said it in her own words at one point, and I'm like, all right, that does make sense. But I mean, for the most part, it's like, how do you say it? But for the most part too, at the same time, that's what I come back to. Like, is it technology doing this? Because at sometimes I'm like, or is it literally like some kind of hypnotism, spelling, like, you know what I mean? Like, is it magic in a sense that's making these things happen? And not to, like these types of topics I like to talk about, like even though it like scares people off or they're like, oh, this is BS, whatever. And anytime you get into some kind of topic like that, but you gotta think about it too, like with how these words and letters and spelling are put together. Hold on a second. Come here. Come here. Like my dog's trying to get in the room. I had him shut out. Hold on. For those who can't see, I'll try to show. Anyways. Okay. Yeah. All right, you're fine. Hey. Okay. So anyways, let me get back to where I was. But yeah. So I mean, when it comes to these things, because it was even after like how you hear about people like having these spectacular games or these moments in the game, and then they come out in the interview later on and they're like, I don't even remember that happening. And for example, what was it in the 2022? I'm pretty sure it was a 2022 WNBA All-Star like 3-point contest with Sabrina Ionescu, and what she plays for New York Liberty, and Liberty equates to 37, and she ends up putting all these buckets in from 3-point range, equating to 37 points. And even that year, you can look up her year of 20. I think I'm pretty positive it was 2022. Her highest scoring game, she had 37 points. But anyways, Liberty equating to 37, and then here she was saying, like, right after the interview of her making those buckets in the All-Star game from the 3-point contest, she made it sound like she didn't even remember what was happening. Like, she was like, oh, honestly, I don't even know what happened. I just went up there and just made it seem so like she wasn't in the moment. It seemed like it just kind of happened for her. And I'm like, is that technology or is that like something else helping her out? You know what I mean? So I'm open to those perspectives still. Like, I can't really say. I always want to yell technology, like that's what's helping her, in which I wouldn't be surprised, and that is a little bit. But I mean, like, a lot of this too makes me feel like has some kind of sorcery or some kind of unknown realm that we're not all aware of. And what I mean by all aware of, like, us everyday people aren't aware of. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's what I mean. I'm open to topics about that, and yeah, I just think it's something that needs to be talked about and observed a little bit more in that sense. But other than that, I don't think I had so much more to talk about for tonight's stream. I mean, close some tabs here. Oh yeah, that was a quick hour. It's funny how you can just like ramble on here and not realize how long you've been talking. But all right. 2 more minutes. Anyone else have any questions to ask me before I get off here? I'm on mountain. I think I already said that. I'm on mountain time here, so it's like 10:30 my time. But yeah, if you guys are interested in playing around on the WNBA again, it starts on May 14th, and I've kind of got a jump start on my WNBA cheat sheet, including gematria and all that, like teams, and I can show you what I mean. Show you, like, just keep track of like what season the teams are in, their whole gematria that you can relate with anything with, and then also their coach being significant, their birthday, and like what day that they were born. I do that for every team, just as a cheat sheet. But yeah, I mean, we got 12 teams right now currently. Yeah, that 28th season does stand out to me. I mean, obviously, Las Vegas Aces could go not only back to back, but make a triple back to back, I guess, if you will. Interesting, and it is interesting that it could be a rematch of last year with New York because of Courtney Vandersloot. But oh, you had a friend from Farmington? Right on. I'm actually located in Aztec. Aztec's just like, it's basically Farmington. It's like barely within 15 miles. Cool. Thank you, Marshawn. Yeah, I was really feeling it this year with the 42nd season, or the 42nd tournament for the women, and Dawn Staley. Yeah, and that 42 can still be relevant in many ways. I mean, it's interesting that it was the 42nd day of the year this year, whenever the Super Bowl was hosted on February 11th, and then I'm just trying to think, like, playing it out into the WNBA. No 42s really stand out, other than how I said that Phoenix Mercury could go 4-2. That'd be a long shot. I'm gonna have to look into the WNBA a little bit more before I put out my futures, but 42 is definitely relevant in the women's tournament. 42nd tournament, 42nd day of the year this year. Chiefs won the Super Bowl with a black quarterback. 42nd tournament, you got the only black remaining coach. 42nd, with Dawn Staley. I feel like I used to have it in my description. Maybe I don't have it in there no more. But yeah, I feel like people are always asking where to find me. But I mean, I try to keep it simple, just knowing kayladecodetalker. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Patreon under the same kayladecodetalker. Right on, Jasmine. Thank you. Yeah. But yeah, I just need to get more, which I do. I do plan on doing the more live streams like this, just even for the public and stuff, because I yeah, I've noticed with women's basketball recently, there's a certain YouTube channel that's getting like populated, I'm like, she don't even talk about. I don't want to name the person because it's it's going to give them more recognition. But I'm like, she had people leaning the wrong way in the WNBA finals last year, getting everyone on Liberty to win it all, and then even in the tournament, like leading people astray. And I'm like, where this person come from? Like, and all of a sudden, like she had less subscribers than me on my YouTube. I can't even get past 7.8 thousand. K, whatever you want to call it. I've been so close to 8,000, and then like when I check my monthly subscribers and stuff, it always seems like I have minus 12 subscribers. Like 12 people a month are always deleting me or something. It's wild. And then this person who has been like leading people astray on their YouTube, but who was talking about women's basketball almost, I don't know, every day, every other day, surpassing like 11K right now, whenever she was like probably at barely 4K at the beginning of the year. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So there's definitely something there with the algorithm, but then also with who they're wanting to be noticed and not. Because I remember even whenever I would do live streams in the past, I feel like I had more viewers. I mean, I'm thankful for the 30 right now. I'm definitely thankful for the 30. But I mean, it just, my views after I drop this video and in this stream, they're not what they used to be at all. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about doing the annual subscription. Kobe White. Honestly, I don't even know who Kobe White is. That NBA player? Obviously, has to be NBA player. But oh yeah, so I don't know if I already said this at the beginning or not. Yeah, I think I pretty much said it. I'm pretty sure I said it at the beginning or. But yeah, with like Aaliyah Boston, like WNBA, how she was such a hot, she went number 1 from South Carolina in the 2023 draft for the WNBA. She went number 1 to Indiana Fever, and then here, because she lost to Caitlin Clark and Iowa Hawkeyes last year in the Final Four for the NCAA tournament for the women, but then this year it's like she was such a big part of it. It's interesting to me that like she was such a big part of that what would you say? This year she was like a commentator for the NCAA tournament, and then here she was like, she got to watch her team South Carolina after she was a part of the team losing in the Final Four, but then like she got to watch her team South Carolina end up defeating Iowa Hawkeyes, who defeated them in the Final Four last year. With her and Dawn Staley, like the whole connection there, and thinking about like Aaliyah Boston, and then here on Monday, not only was it Jackie Robinson Day, but it was also the same day as the Boston Marathon held in Boston, And I'm thinking like, how weird, like she's getting her next future, her next future teammate, Caitlin Clark, going number 1 as well, like how she went number 1 last year. But I mean, like, isn't that interesting? Like thinking about like it was Boston Marathon Day, and then Caitlin Clark went number 1 that day, And then here Aaliyah Boston just won the champion. Oh, basically, not she won, but her former team just won the championship. I don't know. I just find that interesting because we know that Aaliyah Boston was born on Indiana's statehood, Indiana's 185th day of their 185th birthday. They share the exact same birthday. Indiana State, the statehood, and Aaliyah Boston, December 11th. Her birthday is December 11th, 2001. And, just, what was it? Indiana statehood, I think birthday is 1816. So if you do the math, she was born on the 185th day of Indiana's birthday. Like basketball equates to 185. And it just stands out to me that just knowing the only one stat with Boston Celtics, they're currently 17-5 in the NBA Finals. Had they won this year or any other year, it doesn't have to be this year, but it's interesting that they could become 18-5 in the finals, like 185. That's what it makes me think of, anyways, connecting with Aaliyah Boston and how big she's been in the women's league, college and pro. But yeah, I mean, I definitely see that hype about Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark. I can see that. But anyways, I keep saying 5 minutes, but I think I'm gonna end it here. I need to get some rest, get ready for tomorrow. I actually I will make this announcement. It's gonna be a really quick trip, just for the weekend. But if anyone's in the Phoenix area, wants to reach out, hang out, grab some lunch, it's a bummer that the WNBA season won't be held like hyping then just yet, because anybody who was following me last year, it was September 8th, I think, last year, 2023. I actually went to the Footprint Center and, was on my megaphone and talking about how the league was scripted, obviously talking about Brittney Griner and number 42 and how it was all around her career. But I'm going to be in Phoenix again this weekend for a quick trip. But I'm not going to get there till like late Friday and then leaving Sunday. But I'm just doing a favor for a friend. Yeah. So anyways, but yeah, thanks for hanging out, you guys. I'm going to end it there. All right. Good night.